So let's say you're starting to get the hang of R in RStudio, and now you're at the point where you want to make things look prettier. So R has this thing called Graphical Parameters, which you can Google at any point, which I'll do after. But first, let's create a basic plot. So as you can see, I have this tab open. So first things first, I need to create a code block. And if you plan on having more than one code block in your document at a time, it's a good idea to name each one. So let's say we're going to call this section of code plot, which just makes it easier later. If you had, let's say you had a really big document and you want to quickly find the code that you're looking for, you could do a Control F to find that word and find your code really quickly. So let's do what we did before. So we'll assign x to be 1 to 10, and let's say y is x squared, and then we can plot x and y, and then we can highlight that and hit Control Enter, and as we can see, we'll have a plot here. So let's say we want to make this plot look nicer, so we want to change the labels on here. We want to add a title, maybe we want to change the points or change some colors or something. So it's really easy to do, and a lot of functions in R support graphical parameters. So if you want to know more about a function, so the function we're talking about here is plot, then you can come down into the console and type the function that you want. And then you'll see it'll open the help tab, and there's documentation which will explain all about the function. So first it tells us how we actually would type the function in, and it gives us the arguments that go inside the function and what each one represents. So x and y are the mandatory arguments that you have to have in here. So it won't work if I just typed plot x. Okay, well, it did work because we had index, but anyways, it's not a good idea to do that. So let's go back to our help tab. So as we can see here, optional if x is an appropriate structure. So this time it worked, but it won't always work, so you should have something defined for y. I'd also just like to note that just because I called these x and y, that doesn't matter. So I could have done, let's change this so this is a and b, and then when I go to plot, when I go to type in my function, I can go x equals a and y equals b, and if I run that, it'll output the exact same thing. Should have. And there we go. So it's the same thing. The only thing that changed are these labels. So let's go back over here, and as we can see, these ... tells us that this function can take some graphical parameters. So let's do some basic ones. So we can change the type. So right now it's just points, but let's say we want to make a line. So if we do that, we can see that a line is there instead. So there are some other types that you can do. Both, the B stands for both, so we'll get a line and points. Then let's say we want to change the how thick this line is. Then we can do line width equals 2. So the default is 1, so if we do 2, it should be bigger, and we can see that that's the case. Let's say we want to add a title to our plot. We can go main equals, and then this part's really important. Make sure you put quotes. So and let's say we also want to add some labels on here aside from A and B. So to do that, we can go X label equals, and then use quotes again, x-axis, and Y label equals y-axis. Let's run that. So as we can see now, we have our labels. Let's say we want to change the size of that font. We can do so this is out of 1. So 1 being 100% and 0.5 being 50% of the default size. So if we do that, we'll see that this should shrink. So that's a little too much, but if we had a really long title, it would like run way over if we didn't change the size of that. So that's something to keep in mind. If we want to change the type of points that are here, we can do, let's try that. So now we've got these weird little squares with a circle inside of them as our points. We can change the color. And now our points in our line are plotted in red. So now I just want to talk about how to find, if you want to know what the different options are that you can have, you can, well, this one, yeah. So you can click this and you can see all the different things that can go inside this function. So there's a lot of them. So as we can see, we had, this changed how the, how big the title was. This changes the color of the points themselves. If you want to change the color of other things, such as the axis or the labels on the X and Y, there are options for that. And same thing with the title. So if you scroll through here, you'll find that there is an insane amount of graphical parameters that work here. So this was before when we said line type equals, and we had, actually I don't know if we did do that. We didn't do that. So let's see what that looks like. So the line changes to a dashed line, and then there's other options here for dotted or solid, whatever you like. There's line width. There's tons of things. So I definitely encourage you to look through that if you want to make your plots look really personalized. Just don't go too over the top and make things look unprofessional, but if you want to add labels and whatnot, that would be a really good thing. So if you do want to see, for example, what colors you can have here, your best option is just to Google it. So if we do a quick Google search, we can see a list of all the colors that come built into R. Once this loads, and you can use any of these names in here. So if I said Aquamarine 4, and then ran that again, it will work. And then if you want to see, like let's say you want to see what this means, like why did I choose 13? How did I know it was going to be that random weird square thing? Just Google graphical parameters in R, and you can see, so this is the one, so if we see 13, that was the shape we had. So you can choose any of these shapes and any of these line types, and here's all the colors again. So you do have a lot of freedom to make things really personalized.